my walk to work is sacred. It's been so nice recently to just wake up and the only thing that exists when I start my day is where I am in that moment.
An accomplished product and portrait photographer, Iona Macleod is a multi-talented creator, all while being the entrepreneur behind her own business and studio. With all these plates spinning, Iona sees the morning as time to be protected, to find ideas and center herself for the day ahead. This is how the morning helps her rise and shine. Well, thank you very much for being here. Welcome.
Pleasure.
We always like to start these with what wakes you up in the morning, and then what's your first thought?
Well, hopefully it's not my alarm. I much prefer to wake up naturally. And often the first thing that I will think about is what I want to achieve that day. If I have a shoot, I'm thinking about the shoot. If I don't, it could even be how am I going to achieve rest and enjoy this time off, because my schedule is so unpredictable and it's different week to week, day to day even. I think my morning routine actually starts before I even wake up most of the time, which is, for me, looks like sleeping as long as I possibly can. So on average, I like to get 9 or 10 hours of sleep a night, but often that might be 12, 13, 14, if I've had a good weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, that is the thing that I would prioritize over everything. And then, well, initially when I first wake up, I'm probably thinking about the crazy adventurous dream that I've just come from. It's a world that we can't even begin to imagine when we're waking.
Yeah.
And for me, I find it creatively inspiring sometimes. I mean, often I will dream about the plot for a movie or something, and I'll wake up and I'll try and scribble it down, and then the more you are writing, the more you realize it makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, I think sitting in my dreams when I first wake up is a really nice practice, just to be able to explore that wild world
Yeah.
a little bit more.
And you say that helps you like come up with creative ideas or sometimes, or kind of get into that mindset?
Yeah. I mean, I'm so fascinated by dreaming anyway, and sleeping. I went through a real phase where I was reading a lot around it, and then also trying to train myself to become lucid. Um, and I find that my subconscious will often unpick and re-put together problems that my conscious brain can't figure out. And that can happen in waking life if you just distract yourself, or it can happen for me in dreaming. So, and that's why I said I prefer not to wake up with an alarm, because I find that often that won't be at the correct point in your sleep pattern where naturally you're supposed to be waking up anyway. So it can jar you out of that. And I remember also reading that it's not that great for your body, especially if you're like me and you're snoozing times before you actually get out of bed, because it gives your heart a little shock. Yeah, definitely waking up naturally is my preference.
Okay.
And I tend to wake up really slowly, and I'll go back into snoozing, and then I mean, it is a luxury, of course, because like in this day and age, who really has time to do that? But as and where I can, I definitely will prioritize snoozing. I mean, if you're wanting to lucid dream, which I'm really interested in, then that's the best time to do it, is those last couple of hours just before you wake up. So yeah, if I can, I really indulge in my dreams. And then after that, after I do my like very low key skin routine, which is just splashing my face with the water, sticking on a bit of Nivea, keeping it simple. Then, to be honest, I can't really start my day properly or really do anything else if my house is a tip. So often I will just spend a little bit of time, 20 minutes, half an hour, just cleaning up my house. I feel like if my space is tidy, then my brain is tidy.
Yeah.
So for me, that's like a really important part of how I start my day. And then often it might look like giving my plants a little care, or like a water, or, and I think the more that I think about it and talk about it, nature is an important part of my daily routine, but especially my morning routine, whether that is walking through the park or whether that is watering my plants. I also have a theory, and this might be completely nonsensical, but my theory is that I have quite a loud, untidy mind sometimes, and not from a negative perspective, but just from a perspective of ideas coming in and out, or things that I have to do coming in and out, because even just kind of having the photography in the studio and different things that I have going on, that I need my space to be tidy, because if my mind is untidy and my space is untidy, then I it's too much.
Yeah.
And I think with people who are happily untidy in their spaces, I can imagine they just have these beautifully clear minds where everything is kind of easy and makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if that checks out at all. But for me, I think my mind is quite loud, so I do need my space to be calm.
Yeah.
And then make my bed. That's a really important practice, just because it immediately as soon as you've woken up, you've achieved something. I think we can all relate to the feeling of having a really long to-do list and procrastinating, or just like doing anything you can to avoid it. But then when you do get around to getting through the things that you have to do, it's such a good feeling. And the more that you do it, it's like completing begets completing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The more you do it, the more easy it is to then keep that flow moving. So I think in the morning can be a really good time to just immediately put yourself into that state
Yeah.
of achieving.
Nice. So you've done those basics.
Um,
What comes next? Are you a breakfast person? Do you exercise?
I used to be a chocolate brownies for breakfast kind of person.
It's a good way to start. Well, I know.
Yeah, but now I'm actually not so much. I think I can't quite decide what my morning drink is. I'm having a bit of an identity crisis around my morning drink. It used to be tea, then it was rooibos, then for a while it was coffee, which really surprised me because I was always the person who hated coffee, and now I find myself drinking coffee, which is shocking to me. But I don't think I don't want to be starting my day with caffeine, with anything that's going to alter my body. So at the moment I'm into ginger tea, just boiling up a bunch of ginger, sticking some honey in there,
Yeah.
having that in the morning. But in terms of breakfast, I'll either have a smoothie or just wait, or just not. I don't get too hungry in the morning, so
Yeah. You got ready for the day, and then you head out. You come to this wonderful studio. How do you get here? And is that a kind of special time for you in those period between leaving the house and getting to work?
yeah, definitely. My walk to work is sacred. I live about a 20-minute walk from the studio, and for me, it's the best way for me to get myself into the mindset for my day, whether that's having a shoot or whether that's just kind of editing or working on other creative projects. But the walk is a really important way for me to start my day.
Have you always found that having that bit of time, like you say, for the walk, that kind of sacred time, has that always been something you've looked for in your mornings, or is that kind of new?
Yeah, well, when I first moved to London when I was about 20, I had a office job, and my commute was an hour and 20 minutes on the tube. And it was such a stressful way to start your day, because you're being pounded by so many other people's energies immediately, like crushed up against you, and you're hot and you're sweating and everybody's miserable, staring at their phones, and that to me just always set me in such a like heightened state of stress
Yeah.
immediately, just because you're kind of taking on everybody's energy in that environment. So as soon as I could, and before I had this studio, I had another studio up in North London, and again that was within walking distance of my house at the time. And so when I was searching for this place, it was very much top of the priority list that it would be within walking distance. And was very fortunate to find this place just down the road.
Nice.
So yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
The time obviously in the mornings, feels quite sacred to you, I guess, and but you also run your own business. Like, is there an element of needing to keep on top of that a little bit as well in the mornings?
Yeah, definitely. I think I mean, I have, an app which I use to keep track of all the different things that I have to do, but at the beginning of each day, I will pick out the important things, obviously, that need to be done that day and then order them. And sometimes I write it in my phone, sometimes I handwrite it, um, sometimes I write it on Post-its so that I can scribble them up when it stands. But yeah, getting my day ordered is important to me just so that I know what I'm doing. And that I also make sure that I do everything that I need to do. I'm a big list maker just in general, and I really need to see it in order to kind of get my brain into the flow of doing it.
And do you find, like, when you get those things out on paper, like, especially if it's more admin heavy stuff, does that help you then go on and be creative? Because you think, like, I have that list of
Yes.
that stuff, and now I can really concentrate on ideas or how these things are going to
Yeah.
work.
Like that's there, so I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
So I can go off and have a bit more freedom in my mind. Yeah, definitely.
You obviously work in a creative field, and creativity is very important to you, both for your work and personally. And is the morning a good time for you to be creative, to do your work, or like you said, you kind of living in your dreams a bit and coming up with those ideas? Is it a good time for that?
I'm actually a night owl.
Okay.
I tend to boot up quite slowly in the mornings, and then sort of early afternoon tends to be my most productive time, and then I like to stay up late just to kind of I'm not necessarily as productive at night, but I guess I feel more alive at night.
Yeah.
I definitely prioritize sleep over everything. So if it's a choice between waking up at 7 a.m. and going to the gym and then starting at 9 or sleeping until 9 and then starting, I will always sleep. I think it is quite all over the place. My schedule is quite um sporadic, I guess. But in the mornings I will often be well, it depends. If I have a photo shoot, then my shoots start at 9 and so immediately I'm up and I'm in that mindset. But if I'm sort of left to my own devices, then I will often spend the mornings thinking about personal creative projects that I have on the go. So if I'm writing something or if I'm painting something, I'm normally so excited to get back to it in the morning after I've woken up that that will take priority, and then I'll kind of do all the things that I can get away with doing before I get around to actually doing any work, which normally happens in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Um, Although I'm actually trying at the moment to not call it work. My theory is that work has certain connotations in our brain, and just by saying, "Oh, I have to do my work, I have to do my work," that actually creates a bit of a negative association in your brain. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to call it editing or shooting or
Yeah. That's
whatever it
interesting.
may be.
Yeah.
Um,
And interesting that you have the two. I guess that your mornings can be both. Like, they can be kind of relaxed, or if you need to be up, you can be up and be productive. That's quite useful to be able to have the two, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No.
This is why, for me, the walk is so important because if I am having to start at 9 and get going, then the walk is an opportunity for me to get myself into that headspace where naturally I might not have otherwise fallen into it so much. I think if I was to get on the bus and then get to the studio and not have that time to just mentally prepare myself and just have a think and listen to music and just get my body moving, then I think I would start my shoots in a much more chaotic frame of mind
Yeah.
than I do if I'm able to walk.
Would you say that walk is, it sounds like that's the, you refer to it as like sacred. If that was the one,
Um,
if there was one thing in your mornings that you couldn't do without, do you think it would be that walk, or would it be something else?
I think it would I think it would be just a bit of time to myself. I think whether that because that's all the walk is really. I
Yeah.
mean, as much as it's also about the movement and the space and the air, it's just about the time to myself. I don't necessarily love waking up and then immediately being required,
Yeah.
you know?
Because you work for yourself, do you like to avoid emails, your phone calls in the morning, or is it you think I'm going to do those at the end of the day, or do you like to at least glance at your phone? Like, how do you deal with
Yeah.
that part of things?
I wish I could sit here and say, I'd never look at my phone and I meditate for half an hour before I do anything, but that's not quite the case. I'm definitely a victim of my phone sometimes in the morning, but I have actually recently started leaving my phone outside my bedroom.
Okay.
So I don't have it even in my sleep space.
Yeah.
And that's been so nice, and I can't believe I haven't been doing that up until this point. And it probably won't be an all the time thing, but just where I can, if I don't need an alarm or anything, because I don't have, the time that I need to be awake in the morning, then I will leave it in the other room. And because I was just finding myself waking up and then immediately going on my phone, and without even realizing, I think you might see something that just starts to chip away at your little like energy bubble that you have in the morning, and start to change your mindset, or start to make you think about things that are difficult, whether that's what's going on in the world, or even emails, like what you need to do, like, oh shit, I need to reply to that person, or this, whatever it might be. I think it's been so nice recently to just wake up, and the only thing that exists when I start my day is just where I am in that moment,
Yeah.
rather than all of a sudden you're connected to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm definitely trying to not be I was about to say tech whore.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. It's like,
I'm definitely not trying not to be a slave to tech first thing in the morning. But then, yeah, eventually when I do get to that point, it will often be just checking my emails and just making sure that there's nothing immediately that I have to do, immediately that I have to reply to, whether that's for my photography or for the studio.
Yeah.
Hopefully overnight we've had tons of booking requests and people have poured into my inbox asking for work, but that doesn't always happen. So yeah, usually I'll check my emails, but often wouldn't necessarily sit down to go through them
Yeah.
until later that day.
Yeah.
I'm not super amazingly good with comms.
Yeah.
I think if you ask any of my friends, they would tell you it takes me at least 2 months to reply on average most of the time. So yeah, if I can, if I have to, I will sit down then and do my editing, which I love. It's very meditative. It's like I can just really get in the flow with it. It takes a different part of my brain than something like emails or admin. It's I can do it without having to engage my, I wish I had a scientific word for
Yeah.
it, but just my,
Kind of like the more analytical side, I guess. Yeah, you could do it more. Yeah.
yeah, I suppose it's definitely creative, but it's also just, it feels like it's so in my hands.
Yeah. The thing we always like to end on is if there was a person whose morning routine you would like to know about, and it can be someone you know, it can be somebody famous, it could just be even like a type of person. Like who would you choose? Who would you like to know about?
I'm very inspired by LeBron James because he and I have a very similar attitude towards sleep, which is that it should be prioritized above anything. I think he sleeps for like 12 hours a night and then will often go for like 2-hour naps during the day. And I feel like I can relate to that. And I'm sure his morning routine is very much based around nutrition and exercise, where, mine, not being a professional basketball player, is not. But yeah, I would be really fascinated to know more about what that looks like for him. And also I can imagine that he wakes up at, sort of 6, 7 a.m., which means that he must go to bed crazy early. For me, sometimes 6 p.m. is breakfast time. on a good day.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you very much for taking part in this. Yeah.
Pleasure, thank you.
Pleasure to have you.
It's been nice to have you in the studio.